Hi everyone, welcome back to Jeddah on what is now Monday morning. It's Mann-Bryans and Filip Cleeren coming to you from Media Island at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. We've seen one hell of a Grand Prix, Phil, really, haven't we? Oscar Piastri wins it, but we have to, I think, start with that first corner incident where does he get ahead of Max? We're still not quite sure. Verstappen gets a 5-second penalty that ultimately cost him a chance at the victory. It's been very, very hit and miss as to which side of the argument people are coming down on. What was your initial take when you saw it happen?
It was definitely a marginal call. I thought it was a fair call when I first saw it. When I saw it again, I still thought it was a fair call, but it is quite marginal.
Yeah.
You also wonder why did the stewards give a 5-second penalty, not a 10-second? Maybe they were also.
Which Liam Lawson later in the race took a 10-second, didn't he?
Yeah.
Just for example.
Yeah. Clearly, it's no prizes for guessing what Rebel's or Max Verstappen's opinion was. He was very upset at it. Didn't really want to answer questions about it. And then Christian Horner did his media debrief, and he, true to form, brought screenshots of Max Verstappen's onboard camera, allegedly showing that he was ahead at the apex. His mirror was ahead of Piastri's front axle, so therefore it was his corner.
That was, I think, because if you read the steward's reasoning, that was literally what it said in there. They deemed that the mirror was behind the axle, and they gave the corner to Piastri. So it's a strange one, but other than it being a bit performative, there's not really a lot, I don't think, those printouts or anything going to do, really, is there?
No, he was obviously asked about, are you going to protest right of review, as it's called. He said, unlikely, we'll give this to the stewards because they feel like they have a camera angle that they haven't seen, which would be new, but they also spoke to the stewards and they said it's a slam dunk penalty, so there's no real points to go any further.
Surprise, surprise, Helmut Marko also spoke about it, said he couldn't really work it out, but Max Verstappen, as you point to there, other than that initial reaction when he was told about it over the team radio where he swore, could get fined for that. Maybe that's why in the press conference and in the media afterwards he was so tight-lipped about it. He was saying, look, I don't want to say anything, I don't want to get in trouble. You know, every time I say something, people get upset, people can't handle the truth. He went very Jack Nicholson with that. So I suppose we've seen that side of Max really since Singapore, where he was fined for swearing for the first time. And I can understand it, really. He doesn't owe the media anything, I think.
No.
Does he owe the fans? Maybe a little bit. But what would Max have gained from going into that press conference and complaining about it, really?
I think there's also a wider narrative of Max being a bit fed up with all the media hype around him and his future, and everybody asking Mercedes about him, Aston Martin, and I think it's just in general a bit fed up after this triple header of having to answer all these questions, and then this comes on top of it. The FIA point is a good point, that he's already gotten in trouble before, so he's like, I just want to get out of here.
Maybe we need to be a bit more creative about what we ask Max Verstappen. Let's go to Oscar Piastri. Strangely felt like afterwards in the press conference he was an afterthought, I suppose because of what happened with Max, what's happened with Max all weekend, as you point to there. But it's a great win for Oscar, back to back with Bahrain now, 3 wins for the season, first guy to win a race this year, not starting on pole position. I think we knew it anyway, but it's a real deal, isn't he? Yeah,
he's up and running for the season, isn't he? 2 wins. Obviously that penalty did sort of decide the race, didn't he? So it's not like he ran away with it like he did before. So it was trickier. It was more like Suzuka than like Bahrain. So definitely the tyre wear wasn't as high. So the McLaren wasn't as dominant. Seems like they just when the tyres are holding up, they can't really flex that muscle too much. But Oscar, fantastic. The way he handled turn 1 as well, that could have ended up very differently. And he did nothing wrong, was in control, and that is ominous form.
It felt very Max Verstappen-like, the way he just came over the radio and made the point that I had the corner, make sure we get a look into this. They're always slightly coded, those messages, aren't they? Even though you don't need the the enigma to work them out. But
no, he switched on in all that stuff.
He knows, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Let's switch to his teammate Lando Norris yesterday, calling himself an effing idiot for pointing into the wall at turn 5. He was 1 second off getting a podium today. Obviously benefited from Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly's crash, promoted him up 2 places. But he seemed to enjoy himself out there. Some overtaking, some back and forth with Lewis. A good strategy to start him on the hard, run all that way on the hard, and then get him on the on the medium for a quick end. He would have needed that, wouldn't he, after Saturday? And now with a little break, so we head to Miami.
I think so. Yeah, I think he needs a break more than that, maybe.
Very true.
But don't we all? But yeah, it was a really good race. As you say, the hard tyre start was really smart. it could keep him out longer, but then also if there's a safety car in that middle portion of the race after everybody else is pitted, that would have, seen him in really good shape.
It felt like they might have even been hoping. I know Lance Stroll in the pen said he started on the hard. He was like, ran the longest of anyone. He was like, look, I was just begging for a safety car because then all of a sudden the strategy falls into their hands.
That was the main reason, and the hard wasn't really much worse than the medium in terms of pace. So, that was the right call if you're in the pack, because he was never going to get out of the dirty end to start anyway. And then, good recovery drive, exactly.
He was only 1 second behind Charles Leclerc, who said, look, I got absolutely everything I could out of my Ferrari today.
Yeah.
It was good enough for third. He thinks race pace wise they are getting close to the leaders. He says, look, we need to improve on a Saturday. I don't really think we need to talk about Charles Leclerc. I think go back to Lewis Hamilton, he's so unhappy, isn't he? Just trudging through the media pen and again on the radio talking about sliding around on the track. He as well as Lando would be just desperate to get away for a few days before heading to Miami, won't he?
Yeah, I think so. It's just not clicking. His body language is not great. What can you say? It just needs a reset of some kind. I know it's been 5 races in 6 weeks. Like for everybody else, it has been intense, but there's some work to be done there. Especially, Charles was really good today. I'm not sure Ferrari understands exactly why he was so strong when they were really struggling in other races comparatively. But it is a bit of a headache for Lewis. It's not been the start that he wanted.
Absolutely. You said about there, Ferrari couldn't work out why Leclerc was so strong. On the flip side of that, Mercedes couldn't work out. They were at a loss to work out why their performance here was relatively poor. George Russell dropped off a cliff, he said, with the tyres towards the end. Toto Wolff, I think, said the performance was terrible. Just sometimes you go into a weekend and you just have to lick your wounds and say, we weren't on it this weekend?
I think so, yeah. It was a difficult race. A bit like Suzuka, but on softer tyres, wasn't it? So it's another new dimension to the race pace, having a different track and tyre combination that you have to do most of the race on. And in Mercedes' case, the mediums and the hards were not great, either of them. So no matter what they tried, they just weren't as races compared to even Ferrari.
Yeah.
Which we wouldn't have expected. We're probably, I think we were saying yesterday about Russell was probably the closest challenger to the front two. So I think there will be a bit of head scratching, but they'll have time to debrief and go again. Yeah,
George has been saying, look, I've had a great start to the year. P5 here, maybe the worst race they've had. It's not the end of the world for those guys, is it? Like you say, lick their wounds, go away and come back in Miami. I think we need to touch on Williams. Double point score for them, and great teamwork from Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, where Carlos Sainz wanted to go, he wanted to pull it clear, but the team said, no, we want you to let Alex into your DRS zone. Isaac Hadjar sat behind them, could do nothing about it, because every time the Hadjar presses DRS, obviously Alex Albon in front of him gets the benefit of that from his teammate. It is sometimes really great, unless you're a Racing Bulls fan, to see little bits of teamwork like that in Formula 1, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's what James Vowles, team boss, has always spoken about, bringing in Carlos alongside Alex. He knows he's got 2 team players there that will put the team first. Certainly when they're in this position now, when they're just squabbling over points. And really good job by Carlos. He was sort of a backup race strategist in Melbourne, wasn't he?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So and now he's the lead out in cycling terms for Albon. So good job. I think it also shows that Carlos is sort of getting there. Absolutely. With his adaptation to Williams. He struggled a little bit to get used to some of the quirks of the Williams, how it's likes to be driven, some of the long-term DNA issues in that car that obviously Alex has more experience with. And now Carlos is getting there as well. It's not exactly how he wants it, but that's the car he has, and he's getting on par with Alex surely enough.
Yeah, Alex Albon came through the pen. I was speaking to him, and he actually said, look, we've had a great start to the year, probably better than we thought. We're probably the best of the midfield at the moment. We're putting all of our eggs in the 2026 basket now. So all we need is for some of the other midfield pack to put more into 25, and there could be a flip. And it could be that they start falling down the pecking order. So, as he said, they need to maximise their races now while they're, strike while the iron's hot. When it's both drivers, when they're working together as a team, things are going okay at Williams, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And as you say, it's really difficult in that midfield because it really feels like P5 is up for grabs. Haas were there before the weekend, but then they had a really difficult weekend. Yep. So it's going to fluctuate a lot there, and it's about execution as much as about the car, because it won't just be Williams. I'm sure other teams will start switching as well to 26.
it will be interesting, Phil, and next up will be interesting as well when we head to Miami in a fortnight. It'll be nice for everyone, I think, to switch off for a week. It's almost like the summer break when F1 gets a weekend off now, isn't it? No one will know what to do themselves. But join Autosport in Miami, where we'll cover off the weekend as we always do. Thanks for joining me and Phil over the course of this weekend here in Jeddah.